The conference chamber floated in the silence of deep space, a massive structure built by 12 different species over 3,000 years. Inside, representatives from across the known galaxy gathered for what they called an emergency session. Council Administrator Vex Thalen stood at the center platform, his four arms gesturing at the holographic display that filled the room with light and data. "We have a problem," Vex Thalen announced, his translator converting his words into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "The humans have done it again." Around the circular chamber, alien leaders shifted in their seats. Some had tentacles. Others had wings folded against crystalline bodies. A few looked almost humanoid, while others defied easy description. All of them watched the data with growing concern. The hologram showed Earth, a blue and green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Numbers scrolled past, showing technological milestones. Vex Thalen highlighted several with pulses of red light. They discovered radio waves 200 years ago. They achieved nuclear fission 100 years after that. They reached their own moon just 60 years later. They established colonies on Mars within another century. Vex Thalen paused, letting the timeline sink in. "For context, my own species required 4,000 years between radio and Mars colonization." Counselor Thren, a massive being covered in armored plates, spoke up. "Perhaps they simply develop faster. Some species progress more quickly than others. That is what we thought at first," Vex Thalen replied. He changed the display to show recent observations. "But look at this. In the past 10 years alone, they have made breakthroughs in genetic engineering, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and fusion power. They are not progressing along a single path. They are advancing in every direction at once." The chamber filled with murmurs. Several counselors leaned forward to examine the data more closely. Vex Thalen continued his presentation. "We have been monitoring Earth for 300 of their years, ever since they launched their first artificial satellite. At first, we classified them as a typical emerging species. Interesting, but not concerning. That assessment has changed." He pulled up a new image. It showed a young human male in a laboratory, surrounded by equipment. "This is Dr. Park Min-jun. He is 32 years old, which for humans is quite young. He leads a research team developing neural interface technology. The initial purpose was medical, helping paralyzed humans walk again, restoring lost senses. Resent. The hologram zoomed in to show Park's work. Detailed scans revealed complex circuitry integrated with biological tissue. 3 months ago, Park's team achieved full brain-to-computer integration. A human can now control machines with thought alone. They can access computer systems directly through their minds. They can communicate complex ideas without speaking. Vex Thalen's voice took on a darker tone. "Do you understand what this means?" Another counselor, this one resembling a floating jellyfish made of light, spoke. Military applications. Precisely," Vex Thalen confirmed. "We estimate that within 5 years, human pilots will control spacecraft through direct neural links. Their reaction times will match or exceed our best combat systems. Within 10 years, their soldiers may network their minds together, creating group consciousness in battle. This is not speculation. We have intercepted their military communications. They are already exploring these possibilities." The chamber grew quieter. The weight of the information settled over the assembly. "But there is more," Vex Thalen said. He brought up another human, a woman in military uniform, Commander Song Hae-won. She leads human experimental spacecraft development. 2 weeks ago, her team successfully tested a new propulsion system. It uses principles we do not fully understand yet. But our analysts believe it could lead to faster-than-light travel within 20 years. "Impossible," Thren declared. "FTL technology requires at least 2,000 years of development after achieving fusion power. The physics alone demand centuries of research. And yet, humans are on the verge of discovering it." Vexthalon replied calmly. They do not follow the normal rules. They make intuitive leaps that should not work, but do. They combine ideas from different fields in ways we never consider. They fail repeatedly but learn from failure faster than any species we have ever encountered. 2. He changed the display again. This time, it showed a graph with dozens of species listed. Each had a timeline showing their technological development. Earth's line shot upward like a rocket, while all others climbed slowly and steadily. Here is what truly concerns me, Vexthalon said. Every other species in this galaxy developed technology through gradual, logical progression. Each discovery built carefully on the last. Humans do not work this way. They skip steps. They make breakthroughs that should not be possible with their current knowledge base. It is as if they guess at the answers and somehow guess correctly. A small, bird-like counselor spoke up. What do you propose we do? The Galactic Concordat has established the Human Observation Initiative, Vexthalon announced. As of today, we are deploying monitoring teams to every human settlement beyond Earth. Mars colonies, asteroid mining stations, orbital platforms, research outposts. Everywhere humans work, we will watch. You want to spy on them? The bird-like counselor asked. I want to track their innovations before they become threats, Vexthalon corrected. Every new technology will be catalogued and assessed. We need to understand how they think, how they create, how they solve problems. Only then can we predict what they might develop next. And if they develop something truly dangerous? Thren asked. Vexthalon was quiet for a moment. Then we will decide what action to take. But first, we must know what we are dealing with. The vote was called. The Human Observation Initiative passed with overwhelming support. Within hours, invisible monitoring stations began moving toward human space. Advanced sensors locked onto human facilities. AI systems started analyzing every transmission, every research paper, every casual conversation they could intercept. On Earth, in his laboratory, Dr. Park Min-jun worked late into the night. He had no idea that 16 different alien sensors were pointed at him, recording every move he made. He hummed quietly as he adjusted his equipment, completely unaware that his work was being classified as a potential galactic threat. Above the planet, in ships humans could not yet detect. Monitoring teams settled in for what they thought would be years of routine observation. They expected slow progress, gradual development, nothing surprising. They were wrong about everything. 6 months passed. The monitoring teams sent daily reports back to the Galactic Concordat. Vexthalon read every single one, and with each report, his concern grew deeper. This makes no sense, he muttered, studying the latest data from the Mars monitoring station. His assistant, a young K3 named Lysis Ara, looked up from her own console. Administrator? She asked. Vexthalon gestured at his screen. Look at this. 3 weeks ago, Dr. Park published his findings on neural interface technology. The paper was freely available to any human who wanted to read it. We expected his team to maintain secrecy, to protect their advantage. Instead, they shared everything. Perhaps they do not understand the value of their discovery, Lysis Ara suggested. No, it is worse than that, Vexthalon replied. He pulled up more data. Within days of Park's publication, 17 different human research teams began building on his work. A medical group in Europe used his techniques to restore memory in brain-damaged patients. A mining company on Mars adapted the technology to control excavation robots more efficiently. A team in Japan combined it with their quantum computer research. He highlighted another report. And Commander Song's propulsion team? They read Park's work and realized his neural interface principles could be applied to spacecraft navigation systems. They made a breakthrough in 3 days that should have taken them 3 years. Lysis Ara studied the patterns. They share knowledge instead of hoarding it. Exactly, Vexthalon said. And it accelerates their development exponentially. When one human discovers something, thousands of other humans immediately start thinking about how to use it, improve it, or apply it to completely different problems. The monitoring reports continued to pile up. Each one revealed something new and troubling about human innovation patterns. A breakthrough in agricultural gene modification allowed humans to grow food in Mars's harsh environment. Within a month, a materials scientist realized the same genetic techniques could be used to create self-repairing spacecraft hulls. The applications were not obvious. The scientist had to think sideways, connecting ideas from biology to engineering in ways that seemed almost random. But it worked. Vex Thalen brought his concerns to the council again. "We need to escalate the threat assessment," he told them. "Humans do not think like us. They make connections between unrelated fields that we would never consider." He showed them example after example. A human artist studying color theory had inspired a physicist to rethink energy wavelength calculations, leading to more efficient solar panels. A chef experimenting with molecular gastronomy had accidentally discovered a new chemical process that improved battery storage. A child's toy had sparked an idea for artificial gravity systems. "They call it lateral thinking," Vex Thalen explained. "They take solutions from one domain and apply them to completely different problems. It is chaotic. It is unpredictable. It is incredibly effective." Factive. Counselor Thren examined the data with growing alarm. "How do we defend against an enemy we cannot predict?" "That is the question," Vex Thalen agreed. "Our strategic models assume logical, progressive development. We can predict what most species will discover next because they follow clear research paths. Humans jump around like insects. One moment they focus on medicine. The next, they are revolutionizing construction. They pursue dozens of directions simultaneously. But not everyone on the monitoring teams shared Vex Thalen's concern. Lysizara spent her shifts watching human researchers work, and what she saw did not match her administrator's dire predictions. She observed Dr. Park's team celebrating their successes together. When one researcher struggled with a problem, others stopped their own work to help. They shared meals, told jokes, supported each other through failures. When Park himself made a mistake that set the project back 2 weeks, his team responded not with anger, but with encouragement. "Look at this data," Lysara said to her fellow monitors one day. She displayed footage from a human colony on Mars. These miners discovered a new mineral deposit. Instead of claiming it for themselves, they reported it to the colony administration. The resources were distributed based on need, not on who found them. One of the other monitors, a veteran observer named Krell, dismissed her observation. "Primitive communal behavior. They will outgrow it as they develop." "Will they?" Lysizara asked. "Every indication suggests this cooperation is fundamental to how they operate. It is not a weakness. It is their greatest strength." Krell did not want to hear it. He focused his reports on military applications, on potential weapons, on reasons why humans needed to be contained. Lysizara tried to include observations about human cooperation and peaceful collaboration, but her supervisors edited those sections out. The official narrative being sent to the council focused entirely on threats. Meanwhile, on Earth and in the colonies, humans continued their rapid development. Commander Song's team made another leap forward. They successfully tested a prototype engine that bent space around a spacecraft. The test only lasted 3 seconds and moved the ship barely a meter. But the principle was proven. When Vex Thalen saw that report, he stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. "They have achieved space folding," he said, his voice hollow. "It took my species 8,000 years to reach that point. Humans did it in 200 years of spaceflight." He called another council meeting immediately. "We must act now," he told the assembled leaders. "Humans are developing faster than our most aggressive projections. At their current rate, they will achieve concordate-level technology within a single generation." "What do you recommend?" asked the jellyfish-like counselor. "Containment," Vex Thalen said firmly. "We establish a boundary around their solar system. We prevent them from spreading until we can determine how to manage them safely. You want to cage them? Lysizara blurted out before she could stop herself. Every head in the chamber turned toward her. Junior monitors were not supposed to speak during council sessions. You have something to say, Monitor Lysizara? Vexthalon asked coldly. She hesitated, then committed. Yes, Administrator. I have observed humans for 6 months. They are not aggressive. They compete with each other. Yes. But they also cooperate. They help other species when they encounter them. Their first instinct is to communicate, not to attack. Their instincts now, Thren rumbled. What about when they possess weapons that could destroy planets? What about when they have fleets that could challenge the Concordat itself? What about teaching them instead of caging them? Lysizara suggested. What about offering cooperation instead of containment? Vexthalon's expression hardened. You are dismissed. Monitor. Return to your station. Lysizara left the chamber, her heart's pounding. She had probably ended her career. But as she returned to her post and watched Dr. Park's team working together, laughing together, she could not bring herself to regret speaking up. The council voted to authorize containment protocols. Within days, ships began moving into position around Earth's solar system. None of them noticed that Commander Song's team had just launched a new deep space probe equipped with their experimental drive system. It slipped past the monitoring net, heading for the outer darkness, where it would continue its tests unseen. The cage was closing. But the humans were already finding ways around the bars. Dr. Park Min-jun stood in his laboratory at 3 a.m, staring at the data on his screens with exhausted wonder. His hands shook slightly as he ran the calculations again. The results remained the same. This cannot be right, he whispered to himself. But it was right. He had checked 17 times. Behind him, the door opened. Commander Song-hae-won entered, still wearing her flight suit. You called in the emergency code, she said. What did you find? Park gestured at his screens. I was testing the neural interface with quantum entanglement principles. Just theoretical work. I wanted to see if human consciousness could maintain coherence across quantum states. He paused, struggling to explain. Song, I think I accidentally invented faster-than-light communication. Song stepped closer, studying the data. Her eyes widened. Show me. For the next hour, Park walked her through his discovery. By using the neural interface to observe quantum-entangled particles, human consciousness could maintain the connection across any distance. Information could be transmitted instantaneously. The implications were staggering. How long before you can build a working prototype? Song asked. 6 months, maybe less if I bring in Dr. Chen's team from the Tokyo facility. Do it, Song said. Keep this quiet for now. Something feels wrong. We have been experiencing too many equipment failures lately. Too many accidents that set us back. Park frowned. You think someone is sabotaging us? I think we should be careful, Song replied. Make backup copies of everything. Store them in multiple locations. And Park? Work fast. Neither of them knew that monitoring sensors had recorded their entire conversation. Within minutes, the data was transmitted to Vexthalon's command ship. The administrator read the report 3 times. Then, he activated the emergency council channel. We have a crisis, he announced without preamble. Humans have achieved FTL communication. The council chamber filled with shocked voices. Councillor Thren's armored body seemed to swell with agitation. That is impossible. Our best scientists needed 5,000 years after achieving quantum computing to reach that breakthrough. Humans have had quantum computers for barely a decade, and yet they have done it, Vexthalon replied grimly. Dr. Park combined neural interface technology with quantum mechanics in a way we never conceived. He did it by accident, while testing something else entirely. The jellyfish counselor pulsed with worried light. If they have FTL communication, FTL travel cannot be far behind. Our projections suggest they will achieve it within 5 years, Vexthalon confirmed. Possibly sooner, if they continue at their current pace. Thren slammed a massive fist against his console. Then, we must act now. We should deploy intervention teams immediately. Disable their research facilities. Set them back by decades. You propose we attack them? Asked another counselor, a serpentine being called Resizik. I propose we protect ourselves. Thren corrected. In 20 years, humans will spread across this galaxy like a plague. They will destabilize every existing power structure. They will challenge us economically, militarily, politically. We must contain them now, while we still can. The debate raged for hours. Some counselors argued for immediate action. Others counseled patience. A few suggested attempting diplomatic contact, though they were quickly shouted down. Vex Thalan listened to it all with growing certainty. He finally said, "All in favor of authorizing containment protocols, including active intervention in human technological development." The vote was close, but it passed. "Approved," Vex Thalan announced. Intervention teams will begin operations within Earth's solar system within 48 hours. We will target key research facilities, key personnel, and key breakthroughs. Nothing fatal. Nothing obvious. Equipment failures. Contaminated materials. Corrupted data. We will slow their progress to manageable levels. Across the chamber, Lysizara listened with growing horror. She thought about Dr. Park's team, about the joy they took in their discoveries. She thought about the miners on Mars who shared their resources. She thought about Commander Song's crew, who celebrated every success together. After the session ended, Lysizara returned to her monitoring station. She sat at her console for a long time, thinking about what she was about to do. It would end her career. It might end her life if Vex Thalan decided she was a traitor. But she thought about the humans, working together, sharing their discoveries freely, helping each other succeed. She thought about how the Concordat planned to sabotage them, to slow them down, to keep them trapped in their own solar system. It was wrong. Lysizara began typing. She accessed the secure communication protocols that the monitoring teams used. She modified the encryption slightly, routing her message through 17 different relay stations to hide its origin. Then she composed her warning. The message was simple. You are being watched. Your recent failures are not accidents. You are being sabotaged. Prepare. She encrypted it using mathematical principles she had learned from studying human research papers. The encryption was based on human methods, not alien ones. Only someone with access to human quantum computing systems would be able to decode it quickly. Then she transmitted it directly to Dr. Park's neural interface research facility. For several hours, nothing happened. Lysizara began to think her message had been lost or ignored. Then she saw activity on her monitors. Dr. Park had received the message. He was decoding it right now. What Lysizara could not see was the expression on Park's face as he read her warning. She could not hear him calling Commander Song immediately. She could not witness Song's reaction as the pieces fell into place. All our recent setbacks, Song said quietly. The contaminated fuel that destroyed our test engine. The power surge that wiped 3 months of data. The equipment failures that always seemed to happen at critical moments. Our sabotage, Park confirmed. We are not alone out here. And whoever is watching us does not want us to succeed. Song was quiet for a long moment. How good is our security? Not good enough to stop whoever sent this warning, Park admitted. If they can break into our systems to warn us, they can break in to hurt us. Then we assume everything is compromised, Song said. We move the most critical research to isolated facilities. We air-gap our most important systems. We feed false data through any channels that might be monitored. That will slow us down. Park warned. Slower than being sabotaged repeatedly, Song countered. And Park? Accelerate the FTL communication project. If someone out there does not want us to have it, that means we need it desperately. Over the next week, human research activity appeared to slow dramatically. Monitoring reports showed Dr. Park's team struggling with problems. Commander Song's propulsion research hit repeated dead ends. The intervention protocols seemed to be working perfectly. Vex Thalon felt satisfied. Humans are proving less resilient than I feared, he told his staff. Perhaps containment will be easier than projected. Lysizara said nothing. But she watched her monitors carefully. She noticed that human communications had become more guarded. She detected encrypted channels that she could not crack. She saw researchers moving equipment to locations where monitoring sensors had poor coverage. The humans had received her warning, and they were adapting. Deep in an isolated facility beneath Mars's surface, Dr. Park's real research continued. Away from monitoring sensors, away from observation, away from interference. His team worked around the clock. And in the outer solar system, where no monitoring stations had been established yet, Commander Song's experimental spacecraft began its first true test of faster-than-light travel. The Concordat thought they had contained the human threat. They were about to discover how wrong they were. Commander Song floated in zero gravity, watching through the viewport as her crew made final preparations. The spacecraft hung in the darkness beyond Pluto's orbit, far from any monitoring station the aliens might have placed near Earth. This location had been chosen carefully after weeks of mapping the surveillance network that humans now knew surrounded them. Final systems check, Song announced. Her voice carried through the ship's internal communication network. Propulsion green, responded Lieutenant Kim from engineering. Navigation green, called out Dr. Chen from the bridge. Quantum drive charging, reported Park, who had joined them for this historic test. 95%, 97, 100%, we are ready. Song took a deep breath. Then let us make history. Activate the drive. Rolling Servile. 251. The ship shuddered. Space around them rippled like water. Stars stretched into impossible lines. Then, in a flash of light that no human eye could have processed, they moved. When the light faded, the viewport showed different stars. Position check, Song ordered, her voice remarkably calm despite her racing heart. Chen worked his console frantically. Checking against star charts. Cross-referencing. Confirming. He looked up, his face split by a massive grin. We traveled 4 light-years. The journey took 8 seconds. The crew erupted in cheers. Park laughed with pure joy, tears floating in the zero gravity around his face. Song allowed herself a small smile. Take us home, she said. We have a lot of work to do. While Song's ship made its return journey, other events were unfolding across human settlements. A young engineer named Choi Da-eun had been studying the equipment failures that plagued human research facilities. She worked for the International Space Coalition's Security Division, and Song had personally asked her to investigate the patterns. What Da-eun discovered chilled her blood. These are not random failures, she explained to her supervisor, presenting weeks of careful analysis. Look at the timing. Every major breakthrough is followed within days by catastrophic equipment problems. The probability of this being coincidence is less than 0.001%. You think we are being sabotaged? I know we are, Da-eun replied. And I think I have found how they are doing it. She pulled up sensor data from a Mars research facility. These are trace electromagnetic signatures that our equipment detected. They are not human in origin. The patterns are wrong. The frequencies are wrong. Everything about them is wrong. She highlighted several peaks in the data. These are monitoring devices. Alien technology. They are everywhere. The investigation expanded rapidly. Within days, human scientists confirmed Da-eun's findings. The monitoring network was vast, sophisticated, and had been operating undetected for months. But now that humans knew what to look for, they found monitoring devices throughout their settlements. Dr. Park proposed a solution. We can adapt my neural interface technology, create a counter-surveillance system, use their own monitoring equipment against them. How? By feeding them false information, Park explained. We let them see what we want them to see. Meanwhile, our real research continues hidden from their sensors. The plan was approved immediately. Human research split into 2 tracks. The hidden track, conducted in shielded facilities with counter-surveillance active, continued advancing at an incredible pace. But humans also made another discovery, one that changed their understanding of the situation completely. A communications specialist analyzing the alien monitoring network noticed something unusual. "There are multiple networks," she reported. "At least 5 different groups are watching us, and they are not coordinating with each other." Song studied this information carefully. Multiple groups means multiple factions. They are not unified in their approach to us, which means some might be hostile while others are not, Park added. Or all of them are hostile and simply competing with each other, Da-un countered. "We cannot assume goodwill," Song nodded slowly. "No, but we can use their divided attention to our advantage. They are watching us, but they are also watching each other." A strategy began forming. Instead of hiding completely, humanity would reveal their capabilities in a way that changed the equation. Not as a threat, but as a power that could not be ignored or dismissed. "We need to show strength," Song argued in a meeting with Earth's leadership. "But we need to show it peacefully. We demonstrate that we cannot be contained, but we also demonstrate that we choose cooperation over conflict." The plan was audacious. It required coordinating efforts across dozens of research facilities, hundreds of scientists, and millions of support personnel. It required completing several breakthrough technologies simultaneously. It required perfect timing, and it required trust that this approach would work better than preparing for war. Dr. Park finished his work on the FTL communication network. The system went far beyond his initial prototype. Now, any human facility could communicate instantaneously with any other, regardless of distance. The implications for coordinating humanity's response were enormous. Da-un's counter-surveillance network reached completion. Humans could now detect and, when necessary, deceive the monitoring systems watching them. More importantly, they had learned to build technology the monitors could not detect, and Commander Song's team refined their FTL drive. The final version was faster, more stable, and more reliable than anything the Concordat possessed. More remarkably, Song's team had achieved it using completely different principles than Park's communication breakthrough. On their monitoring stations, alien observers saw what humans wanted them to see. Research that struggled and failed. Progress that slowed to a crawl. A species that seemed to be contained, successfully. Vex Thalon reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. Intervention protocols are working better than expected. Human advancement has slowed dramatically. Perhaps in a few centuries, they will be ready for supervised contact. Lysizara, still at her monitoring post despite her concerns, watched different data. She saw the encrypted communications she could not decode. She noticed the power signatures from facilities that officially stood empty. She detected ships moving in patterns that made no sense unless they were deliberately avoiding observation. "Administrator," she said carefully, "I think we may have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Vex Thalon asked, not looking up from his reports. "I think the humans know we are watching them, and I think they are hiding something." Vex Thalon finally looked at her. "Explain." Lysizara presented her observations. At first, Vex Thalon dismissed them, but as she continued, his expression changed. He began running his own analysis, pulling data from sources Lysizara could not access. His face paled, which was remarkable for a Catherine. "Sound the alert," he ordered. "Full council session. Immediately." "What did you find?" Lysizara asked. Vex Thalon showed her. Deep space sensors had detected a ship. It had appeared 4 light-years from Earth, remained for exactly 8 seconds, then vanished. The energy signature matched theoretical projections for FTL travel. "The humans have done it," Vex Thalon said quietly. They have achieved faster than light travel. And they did it while we thought we were successfully containing them. Lysizara felt her heart sink. What happens now? Now? Vexthalon looked at the data again. Now we discover whether our containment efforts have made the humans into enemies, or whether there is still a chance for something better. Across the solar system, Commander Song's fleet of FTL-capable ships moved into position. 30 vessels, each equipped with the revolutionary drive system. Each carrying a message of peaceful intent. Each ready to demonstrate that humanity could no longer be caged. The reveal was scheduled for dawn, Earth time. The humans had chosen their moment carefully. They were about to announce themselves to the galaxy in a way that could not be ignored, could not be dismissed, and could not be undone. The age of human containment was about to end. The transmission began exactly at dawn, Greenwich Mean Time. It broadcast across every frequency known to science, and several that were not. It used Dr. Park's FTL communication network, ensuring the message reached every corner of known space simultaneously. The message was simple, direct, and impossible to ignore. To all civilizations monitoring Earth, the transmission began. We know you are watching. We have known for months. We understand you view us as a potential threat. We are transmitting this message to demonstrate 3 things. First, that we cannot be contained. Second, that we mean you no harm. Third, that we prefer cooperation to conflict. As the message played, Commander Song's fleet appeared at the edge of Concordat space, not in threatening formation, but spread out, visible, their positions calculated to be seen by every major power in the region. 30 ships, each capable of faster-than-light travel, each representing a technology that the galaxy's established powers thought was decades or centuries away from human reach. The second part of the transmission showed Dr. Park himself, speaking from Earth. We have solved a mathematical problem that has troubled galactic science for over a century. The screen filled with equations. Elegant and complete. This is the solution to the Vex-Thrain paradox. We offer it freely to all species. No cost, no conditions, no strings attached. The Vex-Thrain paradox had stumped Concordat scientists for generations. It was a fundamental problem in physics that limited several technologies, including energy storage and long-range scanning. The solution Park presented was verified almost immediately by watching scientists across a dozen species. It was correct. Impossibly, a species that had been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries had solved a problem that had defeated civilizations thousands of years old. The third part of the transmission continued. A medical researcher named Dr. Hassan appeared, explaining breakthrough treatments for 3 diseases. But these were not human diseases. They were illnesses that affected specific alien species, conditions humans had only learned about through careful analysis of intercepted communications. We noticed these problems while monitoring your monitoring of us, Dr. Hassan said with a slight smile. We believe science should benefit everyone. These treatments are also freely shared. The fourth part showed engineer Choi Da-eun. We know about the surveillance network around our solar system. We have cataloged every monitoring device, every sensor, every observation post. The screen showed a complete map of the alien monitoring infrastructure, accurate down to individual components. We are not angry about this. We understand your caution. But we want you to know that we see you, just as you see us. The final part of the transmission brought Commander Song forward. We have demonstrated capability. We have demonstrated peaceful intent. We have demonstrated that we can contribute to galactic science and well-being. Now we request formal contact. We would like to talk, not as threats or vassals, but as equals. The transmission ended with coordinates for a meeting location and a simple statement. We will wait for your response. We hope it will be the beginning of a friendship. In the Concordat Council chamber, chaos erupted. This is impossible, Councillor Thren roared. They should not have this technology. Our intervention should have prevented this. They knew about the intervention, Vex Thalen said quietly. They knew about everything. And they developed countermeasures while making us think our sabotage was working. The jellyfish counselor pulsed with agitated light. They solved the Vex-Thrane paradox. That alone changes everything. The applications of that solution will advance every field of science. They cured the crystalline plague, added another counselor. Their voice filled with wonder. My species has suffered from that disease for 3,000 years. They cured it in months, and they gave us the cure for free. And they did it while we were actively working against them, Resisik observed. We sabotaged their research. We tried to slow their progress. And despite this, they respond with gifts instead of weapons. Vex Thalen stood at his console, reviewing the data over and over. The fleet positioning, the technology demonstrations, the solutions to problems humans should not have even known about. Every element was calculated to show strength without threatening violence. They knew exactly how to approach us, he said slowly. They studied us while we studied them. They learned our fears and addressed them. They learned our needs and offered solutions. So, what do we do? Thren demanded. They have made themselves impossible to ignore. We cannot contain them now. Do we go to war before they become even stronger? With what justification? Resik asked. They have committed no hostile acts. They have offered cooperation. They have shared valuable discoveries freely. If we attack them now, we become the aggressors. And we would lose, added another counselor quietly. They have technology we do not fully understand. They developed it faster than our models said was possible. They did it while being sabotaged. What else might they have that they have not revealed? The argument continued for hours. Finally, Vex Thalen called for order. We need to vote. Do we accept their offer of contact, or do we refuse? Before the vote could begin, Lysis Ara stepped forward. She was not supposed to speak, but she spoke anyway. If I may. Counsel. Vex Thalen looked at her for a long moment. Speak. Monitor Lysis Ara. I have watched humans for over a year now, she said. I have seen them work, play, argue, and cooperate. I sent them the warning that revealed our surveillance because I believed they deserved honesty. Today they have proven they are worthy of that trust. They had every reason to be angry with us. We spied on them. We sabotaged them. We treated them as threats instead of neighbors. And how did they respond? With solutions to our problems. With cures for our diseases. With proof that they want peace. She looked around the chamber. We have a choice. We can continue to view them as threats, in which case we will create the very enemy we fear. Or we can accept their offer, learn from them as they learn from us, and gain an ally unlike any this galaxy has ever seen. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, counselors began indicating their support for contact. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Very well, Vex Thalen announced. The Galactic Concordat will accept humanity's offer of formal contact. I will lead the delegation personally. He looked at Lysis Ara. You will come with me, Monitor. You understand humans better than anyone else in this chamber. Lysis Ara felt her heart's race with relief and nervous excitement. 3 days later, the first official contact between humanity and the Galactic Concordat took place at the specified coordinates. Dr. Park and Commander Song led Earth's delegation. Vex Thalen and Lysis Ara represented the Concordat. The meeting began awkwardly. Vex Thalen started with an apology. We treated you as threats instead of potential friends. We sabotaged your research. We violated your privacy. For this, I apologize on behalf of the Concordat. Song smiled slightly. We know. We have known for months. Thank you for the apology. Reed, you are not angry? Vex Thalen asked, surprised. We are frustrated, Park admitted. But we understand. You were afraid. Fear makes people do things they regret. We have experience with that ourselves. How did you adapt so quickly? Lysara asked. Our intervention should have crippled your progress. You taught us to be paranoid, Song explained. When we realized we were being sabotaged, we learned to protect our most important work. We learned to hide what mattered and show you what we wanted you to see. You made us better at security, Park added, and we learned by studying you. Your monitoring technology taught us new principles. Your communication systems inspired our encryption methods. Even your sabotage taught us how to build more resilient systems. We learned as much from you as you learned from us. The conversation continued for hours. Humans explained their rapid development, their lateral thinking, their cultural tendency toward sharing knowledge. The Concordat delegates explained their concerns, their fear of disruption, their desire for stability. Common ground emerged slowly but surely. We have a proposal, Song finally said. The Concordat has been monitoring us, evaluating us, deciding whether we are worthy of contact. That makes sense from your perspective, but from our perspective, we are doing the same with you. We are deciding whether the Concordat is a community we want to join. What do you propose? Vex Thalon asked. A trial period, Park suggested. We share some technologies, we collaborate on some projects, we solve some problems together. After a year, both sides evaluate whether full membership makes sense. You want to interview us while we interview you, Lysara said, understanding dawning. Exactly, Song confirmed. Partnership should be mutual. Trust should be earned on both sides. Vex Thalon considered this. It was unprecedented. But then, humans were unprecedented. In many ways. I will present this to the Council. But personally, I support the idea. The meeting concluded with tentative agreements. Humanity would share some technologies immediately, including the solution to the Vex-Thrain paradox. The Concordat would provide star charts and information about other species. Joint research projects would begin on mutually beneficial goals. As the delegations prepared to depart, Lysara approached Commander Song privately. I was the one who sent you the warning, she admitted, about the surveillance and sabotage. Song studied her for a moment, then smiled. Thank you. That warning saved us months of wasted effort and probably saved lives. We are grateful. Levered Leaf, 1. One studied her. One studied her. We are grateful. I may have ended my career to send it, Lysara said. Actually, Vex Thalon said, joining them. You are being promoted. Humanity has requested you specifically as the primary liaison for ongoing contact. Earth's leadership testified on your behalf, speaking of your courage and integrity. The Council agreed. Lysara felt her legs weaken with relief. 6 months later, the trial period was evaluated. Joint projects had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Human lateral thinking combined with Concordat, accumulated knowledge produced breakthroughs that neither side could have achieved alone. A cure for a disease affecting 3 species. A new propulsion system that was safer and more efficient than previous designs. Solutions to environmental problems on 4 different worlds. The Concordat voted to offer humanity full membership. Humanity voted to accept. On the day of the formal ceremony, Vex Thalon stood before the Council, with Dr. Park and Commander Song beside him. I was wrong about humans, he announced publicly. I viewed their rapid development as a threat. I tried to contain them instead of welcoming them. In doing so, I nearly created the very enemy I feared. He turned to the human delegates. Humans have taught us an important lesson. Potential threats become actual threats when you treat them as enemies. But potential allies become actual allies when you treat them with respect and honesty. Park spoke next. We are grateful for this opportunity. We know we have much to learn. Our technology developed quickly, but we lack the wisdom that comes from thousands of years of experience. We hope to gain that wisdom through cooperation, not through conflict. Song added, "We also want to propose a change to Concordat policy. The surveillance and intervention protocols you used on us should be discontinued. If you encounter other emerging species in the future, we suggest you try cooperation before containment." You might be surprised by the results. The proposal generated debate, but it eventually passed. The Concordat's first contact protocols were revised to emphasize cooperation and mutual respect. Years later, historians would point to this moment as the beginning of a new galactic age. An age where emerging species were welcomed as potential contributors rather than monitored as potential threats. An age where diversity of thought was valued rather than feared. And it all began because one species developed too quickly, and another species had to decide whether innovation was something to cage or something to celebrate. In the end, they chose celebration, and the galaxy became richer for it.